Hi. All right, I'm gonna give it a minute just so those of you who wanted to join me can hop on. So if you are catching the replay, do hashtag high achiever. We're gonna be talking about that today in relationship to what I'm talking about. And let's get started. So I am, for those of you who don't know me, I know there's a lot of new people in the group right now. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Elizabeth, and I'm the founder of this group. I'm a woman's dating and relationship and self-love coach for really powerful, high-achieving women who want to call in that love relationship with the man who really, truly matches what they want and where they are in their lives now. Hi, Tali. Hi, Fernanda. And want to have that kind of like power couple energy with this person because you're going places and you really want someone who is going to go with you, right? And this is something that's eluded you. You've tried a lot of things and it's just not happening. And this is also, I work with women who really want to step more fully into their power and their radiance everywhere in their lives, and especially in their work life and their success, a relationship to that, and also their relationships across the board. So that's the kind of work that I'm doing. And before we get started, I will just add that if you're resonating with me and you want to dive into this work with me one-on-one, then send me a DM because I have one-on-one coaching spots available. So just throwing that out there if you already know. Hi, Jessica. Oh, yay. Hi, everyone. Okay, so let's get started. So I want to talk about something that I have seen being really misunderstood and misused, and it's this concept of leaning back when dating a man. I just want to demystify a lot of this because there's just all these kind of myths out there and they're not really accurate. So we're going to be talking about what is leaning back for and what is it not for. There's so much misunderstanding around this, so I just want to clear that all up. This is going to be one of those long lives that really digs in, so get ready. It's going to be pretty cool. So this will be really helpful for you if you are an alpha or like a high achieving type woman and you're often in this pushing, doing, making it happen energy, but it will be useful for you even if you don't identify as that. So if you know a woman in your life and you think that she would benefit from hearing this or just any of the other content in this group, then invite her to the group, but make sure that when you invite her that she knows she needs to answer the membership questions, otherwise she can't get in. So this is going to be for ladies who have this like really love a good strategy, right? Like you're kind of the person who's strategizing your whole life, right? You're super intelligent. You've got this really analytical brain. And let me know if you are that woman. If you're like, yep, that's kind of me, like, let me know. I'd love to know who's here that resonates with that. So if you're here and you are that kind of a woman, this is really for you. All right. So what does leaning back mean? Let's just like clarify what that is first. So leaning back generally means like you are going to pull back how much you are doing or pursuing or doing in the initiating with a man. So for example, you'll see it used like don't text or call first, or at least like have less than him, not making any plans yourself or pushing him to make plans, like letting him do the work, right? Basically allowing him to take the lead and make the moves to come toward you or chase you. So the concept has been around for a really, really long time, this concept of like leaning back kind of energy. And it did start with this idea of leaning back, was originally applied to what's called circular dating, which just means that you're dating several men at the same time. And so this was because in like the pop culture dating literature, we hear that the man has to be the one coming forward, pursuing the woman, working for you to claim you as his woman, right? So this is based on the idea that if he isn't doing this, if we aren't making him do this, then he won't value us, right? And it's also rooted in this idea of feminine and masculine energy. So this is also where it comes from. It's the idea that leaning back is feminine, and pursuing or moving towards is actually like masculine energy, right? So today I want to dispel some myths that I've seen going around about what leaning back is for, because it's not working for you in the way you probably think it is. And I know that you think it's working for you, and I know that you think like this is what it's supposed to be. And that's why you're using it. You're not necessarily realizing that there are ways which it might be working against you, or it just might not be doing what you think it's doing for you. So if you've ever read anything in dating literature, you'll have seen this term, right? It's all pervasive in the industry. And so I really want to demystify some of this because it's not what you think. So let's talk about what leaning back can do and cannot do. And I want to start by saying that leaning back in and of itself isn't good or bad. So this is not to say one or the other about it. It can be useful, but like I've said, it's probably not for the reasons you think. So first of all, when you're using leaning back to try to get a man to chase, you should be aware that it's not going to work forever, right? Because it's not sustainable for a relationship. What are you going to do once he, quote unquote, has got you, right? So when we consider that you're trying to build an authentic relationship based on genuine emotional connection and love, and one that isn't based on inauthenticity or pretending or hiding vulnerability, you can start to see that there might actually be a problem with this, right? So my ladies who are in their false masculine, you all know that you hide behind having him pursue you because it's a way to make you feel safer, right? Because putting yourself out there, basically, quote unquote, like naked, it feels that way, right? Is the most terrifying thing ever. And this comes down to your own belief in your self-worth. And we'll get to that in a little bit. So according to the pop culture dating gurus, right, leaning back is supposed to mean that you don't have an agenda. And I asked this question in the group and I was like, what does leaning back mean to you? And I saw that a lot of you were saying that's what it means, right? Just relax. Don't be attached to a particular outcome, except that the only thing that I've seen with leaning back when it is recommended for someone to do, it's actually recommended precisely when we are afraid that we were too forward, like leaning too much forward, too desperate, too clingy, too obviously like we cared, right? And are trying to repair the damage and switch the balance so that we know that he's gonna be into us, right? We want to make him more into us. And we're like, oh my God, like maybe I was too much forward and now he's not as interested, right? And so we're trying to create him being more into us by pulling back. So basically, we are trying to be something. Even though when we see leaning back used, we say, oh, it's like enjoying your life or like, I don't know, relaxing. But when you actually are thinking, oh, I need to lean back, that is not what's happening, right? This is actually trying to make yourself to be something, right? And so notice that this is the trying, pretending energy. And I guarantee you, if it's showing up here, it shows up in so many other areas of your life, not just in dating, because all of this relates back to self-worth. So if you know what I'm talking about, tell me in the comments, is this showing up for you in your life? Are you seeing, oh yeah, that makes sense. I've done that. I've been thinking I was doing this, but really that's what actually was going on. Have you seen it? Have you done it? So let me just call myself out because before I discovered a different way, I did this too. It like all the time because this is like what we see. If we're researching, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, this is what shows up, right? You're going to see it anywhere on the internet, right? So I am also your classic high achiever who was also in her false masculine trying to have control so that I would feel safe, not truly believing that I was enough, even though often I wouldn't say that's what was going on, right? So trying not to reveal my hand to him because it felt too scary and also shameful. Because like, what if he doesn't reciprocate, right? That's like the fear underneath it. So first of all, when we consciously are thinking lean back, we do have an agenda, okay? If you're thinking that, you have an agenda. It's not just happening naturally, right? So it's a strategy. And this is what I see all the time with my high achieving women, right? Because we like to have those strategies, we like to have those plans, we like to feel like we're in control, right? So it means that we are trying to create a particular outcome. And usually it's that we were hoping that we will make him come towards us, right? So there is attachment to an outcome there too. This is not just like, oh, like I'm just relaxing, right? Now, there isn't actually anything wrong with having a particular outcome. Because of course we do have a particular outcome that we want, right? That's the point of dating. We are hoping to find a relationship. We do have an outcome that we want, except that leaning back done to control an outcome goes against building a relationship that's based on authentic connection and communication, because it's got behind it this mindset of manipulation and winning, right? It's control-oriented instead of connection-oriented. So here are some of the ways that I've seen leaning back recommended. Like, how does it show up in the literature? Sometimes we call it just letting him pursue. It's kind of the same thing. So don't initiate calls or texts. Give him lots of space. Create distance. Do not tell him what isn't working. Don't complain. Don't bring up issues, because he shouldn't know that you have any problems, right? You're not supposed to care. Don't ask him where in his mind it's going, because he knows where you stand, and you don't want to give away your position, because essentially behind that is the thought that he's kind of the enemy, right? Apparently him knowing where you stand will make you unattractive. So spend time with yourself, spend time on your own, with your friends, your hobbies, fill up your time outside of him. Don't focus on the future of the relationship, just enjoy the moment with him. Don't initiate invites or plans to go somewhere, make him do that. To list a few. You can tell me in the comments there if there are other ones that you've heard used in relationship to how this looks, right? What advice have you heard about leaning back? What did that look like? Or maybe when you've been doing it, what did that look like? So here we go. We're going to break this down a little bit. You guys ready? So all of this is just meant to protect you from looking desperate or clingy or needy in his eyes. Right? So it comes ultimately from a place of, I'm actually not enough, but I need to pretend that I actually think I am enough, even though I don't, right? So it's a place where we actually don't feel emotionally balanced and are trying to hide it. And it totally ignores or wants you to pretend to him that you're having some other experience than you really are. Now, I'm not saying that you want to come on super strong either, right? Because that's the opposite end of the same coin, basically. Both of those things are coming from an imbalanced inner self, right? So it's just a manifestation of that. And we're not actually relaxed or open to the flow when we're actively thinking, I need to lean back, I shouldn't respond right away, I should get so busy that I don't look desperate. Even that is like a strategy, right? Or even just so I don't feel desperate, right? So your analytical brain wants to help you control the situation and the outcome, because the alternative is that you wouldn't be able to help yourself, stop yourself from obsessing about him or moving too forward, right? It's literally just an ego protection when we're using it this way. So there's no way that you're actually feeling relaxed, because if you were, you'd just be showing up however you are, right? And there wouldn't be any thoughts about it. So basically, we lean back because we don't want to take any risks, make any mistakes, and therefore get rejected. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the rejection, right? So if you think you can make a mistake, this is again back to self-worth. Rejection is an interpretation going back to self-worth. So it is all self-protection, and we only need it because we don't really, honestly, truly feel great about ourselves. So what's happening is that it's stunting personal growth when we use that as the crutch, right? Lying to ourselves, lying about our truth, feeding and making our insecurities permissible instead of healing them. And it's not authentic. So you haven't found your authentic power when this is what's showing up, right? So I'm going to say something that you probably haven't heard before, because this is a new thing that I'm pulling from. But leaning back in the context of how we are defining it is not necessarily feminine. And I know that we always hear that leaning back is the feminine energy. I want to tell you that is not necessarily true. So just because you're leaning back doesn't mean you're actually in your feminine. You could be, but the action itself isn't what makes it feminine. It's just an action. It is not what makes it feminine. So would you say, for example, a man leaning back is in his feminine? And I would say no, because he could be very much in his masculine as he focuses on other areas of his life and pursues those, right? So the action itself is not feminine. All that's really going on with leaning back is that you are trying to be high value and not do something out of fear, right? But it's not high value when it's a strategy. Trying to control an outcome is the opposite of our feminine energy. It's actually you and your false masculine, which is what I've been kind of alluding to this whole time. Leaning forward could actually be you and your feminine. It all depends on the energy and the intention behind what you're doing, not on what you are doing. Do you guys follow? It's not the actions, it's the place the actions are coming from that determines masculine, feminine, in worth, out of worth. So if you are making decisions, if you are leaning back and it's coming from, or even leaning forward, and it's coming from fear, scarcity, neediness, desperation, you could lean back and still be feeling all those things. If it's coming from love, trust, openness, curiosity, connection, self-worth, you could be leaning forward and feel those things. That's going to be a very different experience for you and for him. So I want you to just get that it doesn't matter what you're doing in and of itself. It's where what you do is coming from. It's your actual energy, how you're actually feeling. Men are responding to your energy. It cannot lie and it cannot be hidden. The action won't hide that, right? So let's talk about what we tend to think leaning back is doing and what it's actually accomplishing, because this is where I see us thinking it's doing one thing and it's not, other than just what we've discussed. So number one, you may be leaning back and thinking that it will make him like you more because he's putting in more effort, right? I've thought that way too. So let's just clarify that one first. So leaning back will likely create a push-pull effect, right? It could encourage him to come toward you, maybe. And that's actually a big maybe, because it doesn't mean, even if he does, that he will like you anymore just because you're leaning back. This is a misnomer, and I see it literally all over the place. I hear, and you've probably heard this too, that we value what we work for. Have you heard that about men and about the idea that you're supposed to make him chase you and put in this effort? What I want to suggest is that it's actually the reverse. We work for what we value. It's the other way around, right? Why would I put work in for something that I don't already value on some level? So I'm only going to put the effort in for something I already see as worthwhile or worthy of my effort. So trying to make him put in effort when he already doesn't value you or a relationship is not going to change that. And even if he does come towards you as a result, what exactly does it show about what he's valuing? That's a question too. Is it actually you? Maybe. But know that it could also be sex, it could be companionship, it could be just fun, it could even be the adrenaline rush of the chase itself. So he actually thanks you for making the game so fun, right? If he values you, he would value you whether or not you leaned back. You leaning back doesn't create him valuing you. So what is the goal of dating him? I assume it's that you eventually want a committed relationship. You at least hope he might be the one for that, right? So listen, him coming towards you because you pulled back doesn't mean that he will commit to you. It does not mean that. Just take that one in. So that's number one. So number two, you might be leaning back and thinking that you will make him interested in you. So this is different than just valuing you. It could be making him interested in you, right? So it can help you create a feeling of anticipation in him. You know, the adrenaline rush, right? But again, that's only if he's already into you. So think about it. If a man you weren't all that into, but were kind of like maybe one-on-one date with, 2 dates with, right? And he pulled back, or maybe even 3, I don't know, and he pulled back, would it make you value him more just because he pulled back? I'm going to tell you, like, no, right? Like, not authentically. You might just not like losing. So authentically caring about him, though, and wanting a relationship with him is not going to happen because he pulled back, right? Especially if it's an attempt to control you, which is what we're usually doing when we're like, oh, I got to lean back, right? So you pulling back may cause him to wonder if you're still interested, and he does have the chance to miss you, but that only happens if he already was interested in you. So you pulling back does not create him suddenly being more interested in you or seeing you as the one, right? It's not going to make him see you that way. Not that alone. So are you ladies with me? Are you picking this up? I'm just going to pause for a second because we've got a lot of comments here. So I'm seeing a lot of yes, makes sense. What if this is unconscious? Likely it is unconscious. This is why I'm bringing it up. like I've mastered and now I have to unlearn it. Yep, it could be something that's in there now. I was punished for initiating too much. Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a minute. So I wanted to give him space. Yeah. So again, Tali, it depends on the energy that you're doing it with, right? All right, I'm gonna come back to these because I want to keep going. All right, so number 3. So you think maybe you're doing this because you think it's going to raise your value in his eyes and he'll see you as this high value woman. I see this literally all over the place all the time. So especially if you've behaved in quote unquote low value ways, which you very well could have, and are trying to save face and take back your power. But none of that's real, right? Because you don't actually feel better, right? So anyways, in this case, you think that you can get back your power and your value with a man by pulling back. But again, it doesn't do that because, as I said, it's not the action that makes him see you as the one for him or ready for a relationship or want a relationship with you, right? Some men love the chase. They aren't interested in what happens after they catch you. Avoidant men, playboys, men not looking for commitment. And this behavior of you giving him all that space and no pressure will be very attractive to him because he'll think, oh great, she doesn't want a real connection or commitment, so she's totally cool if I'm not really all in anyways. They love that. Not going to be helpful for you. All right, reason number 4. You might think, it tells you how invested he is in you is the big one. So it may make you feel less insecure about where you stand with him if he comes towards you. But it gives you a temporary test only to see how far he'll come when you pull back. But if you are pulling back, you actually already know the answer to this. I guarantee you actually know the answer. Because when there was a man whose interest I never questioned, never had to do this with, it was because I already knew he was interested in me. When I've had a man who really, truly, I knew he's there, he's not going anywhere, he really does like me, I wouldn't have that as a strategy. I wouldn't have that as something I would need to do because he'd be coming toward me naturally. So the insecurity starts to come up sometimes when we already know the answer. If a man does come towards you because of this, it is not an indicator of his future investment or commitment to you. It could be. It could also be an indicator that he wants to have sex with you. He loves the thrill of the chase. He just wants the companionship. All of those things that we've already covered, right? So if a man leans forward, it doesn't necessarily mean that there is a relationship or the potential of one. You don't actually know what his intentions are just from that. So leaning back is a short-term solution to a long-term problem, right? So whether he's leaning forward or leaning back doesn't tell you anything about the lasting ability of the relationship, if there even is one, right? You could be trying to artificially create a connection or an emotionally committed relationship where there wasn't going to be one in the first place. So you have to know the man in front of you, where he's at, what his intent is, and leaning back is not going to tell you that. So if he isn't seeing you as a potential partner, leaning back is not the thing that's going to make him change his mind and see you differently anyways. So I want to say that if you are using leaning back as a conscious attempt to get one of the 4, and maybe it's unconscious, to get one of the 4 outcomes I listed, so either to make him like you more and through making him put in more effort, to make him interested in you, to raise your value in his eyes, or to know his level of investment, any of those things, and maybe there are more, it's actually a sign that you have bigger things to look at beyond just that, right? And so I want to offer a more advanced way of looking at this. If you have been super leaning forward with a man because you're having really intense feelings about him and may have acted in ways that are desperate energy or pushing energy or not, just like something that is not creating attraction, those intense feelings for him are there for a reason, and you can't fix what you did, and you also can't make him like you, right? And so what you really need to do is work on your own level of self-worth, work on your own level of self-love, work on healing where this is coming from. And this is from self-beliefs, from trauma, from being stuck in a false masculine energy mode, and take it as a lesson and move on. There will be more men. Secondly, it's likely that you are choosing men who aren't interested in you because we choose people who mirror how we already feel about ourselves. This is always 100% true. We choose people who mirror how we feel about ourselves. So if you're like, I'm trying to make him more interested and he's not interested, but you're falling for him, that's a mirror for you. It's currently built into your love blueprint to be attracting these kinds of men, and that has to be rewired. Your love blueprint is the map of your love life for how you behave, for how you feel, for how you show up, for how you respond, for who you choose, and how that relationship evolves, and also how it dissolves, like how it falls apart. All of it. That's all in the love blueprint. And it comes from programming from childhood and then gets layered on top with our experiences with men romantically. So it's your beliefs, your wounds, your self-image, your image of men, etc., 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 right? Secondly, who said that his feelings matter more than yours? This is the other important thing to think about. Do you believe that keeping him in your life when he's clearly leaning back, not demonstrating interest, is going to ultimately satisfy you or make you feel like you're enough? Or will you just end up, and this is really what will happen, onto the next thing, onto the next thing, onto the next thing, on that treadmill of never actually feeling enough, right? It's this hamster wheel that you are continually chasing a mark that keeps moving further and further away from you, and there is no end to that. Because this is what happens when we are not really in our worth, when we don't really have not rewired all that stuff, right? So it's far better to observe that you are being attracted to this man, and when it doesn't work out, to get curious about why that happened, than it is to pretend to be uninterested or even mildly interested when you're actually very interested, right? When you're very attached, when you're very attached to that outcome and to that man. Because the level of incongruity with your truth, it's not going to serve you in the end. We're going for authentic connections here, and you can't build an authentic connection on an inauthentic one, on a lie, when you're not really you, right? So the most important thing I see with my clients is that when they fall for this man, and it's almost always hook, line, sinker, the whole thing, and it's clear to me what's going on, and he's just not the one, right? He has not chosen her. She doesn't see it, and she doesn't want to give up on him. And when this happens, it tells me that there are unhealed wounds inside from the past that have not been acknowledged, felt, and healed. He's a match for her love blueprint. So what needs to happen is to rewire that piece of her love blueprint, which will raise her self-worth. So the real work is not what strategy is correct to use with the man when, or with what man, right? The real work is coming to a place of complete inner self-worth and self-love so that the wrong men just fall away. That's really the work. So yes, there are certain things that you should and shouldn't do with a man. Men do have different operating systems than women. They do experience love differently. But what I found is that teaching you all those things will only make a difference for you when the inner pieces are actually resolved, when the things about what he needs from you are just add-ons that exponentially increase your results with men when you've done the other stuff first. So what we need to do first is the mindset work, the belief work, the shadow work, the inner child work, the alignment work. You have to get all those pieces in order. So when I work with my clients, I take a look at what's inside their love blueprint that isn't working for them, right? It's working against them finding that man or keeping that man and having it work out with that man. There's always stuff there. So those are the pieces that matter far more than knowing what the quote unquote right thing to do with a man is. So I want you to just, actually, I'm going to go through now. So is this resonating? Let me know what you're taking away right now. And let me just see. I know there's a lot of comments that I haven't gotten to. Okay. How do you know he values you? That's a whole nother live. If the intention is manipulation versus actually being authentic, it won't give you the results you seek. Yep. 100%, Annika. Yeah. So Fernanda, I'm avoidant and lean back during conflict, and it's a long process to get back to connection. Yeah, so we're not, yeah. As avoidant or even fearful avoidant, the leaning back thing is a protection mechanism. It's the false masculine protection mechanism, because being too close, being too intimate, being seen as super, super scary, which I talked about at the beginning of the live. Lolita, friendship, told me it was needing overwhelming, felt like I had to pull back and not be authentic, and she taught me that I'm too much. No, she's just not for you, that's all. She's just not for you. It doesn't mean anything about you. It's not your own worth. Yeah, resonating, said Karen. Daniela said, would you lean back after you've been intimate and he hasn't contacted for over a week? That's a big one. How we respond after sex with a man makes a huge difference in how safe he feels with us or not. Valita, when I deserve people who are excited, and yes, you deserve people who just love who you are authentically, right? That's it. Friend, and I saw all of those lives. Wait, what lives are you talking about? Okay. So let's keep going. Okay, so tell me, how would it change in your life right now if you were to not just have the right man in it, not just that, but actually really, really embody a new level of self-worth and self-love? What would that be like in your life? How would that change all of the different containers and areas of your life? And then just imagine it, how it would change to have that consistent man in your life where you didn't have to use all these things. They were not needed. And you get to fall asleep with his arms resting beside you. You get to have that person to share your deepest parts with. You get to make plans for your future. That was a big one for me. You get to make plans for your future now because you know who you're building your life with. You get to have those soul-nourishing, intimate, deep connections where you actually feel safe being you. And you get to have that person who not only has your back, but also pushes you to be even more extraordinary, because this is the kind of relationship we want, right? This is the power couple relationship. While also, and most importantly, already feeling extremely worthy, right? Not having that high achiever, false masculine popping up all the time and making you question yourself, sabotage, trying to be something other than who you are, not feeling good enough. If that was not there, right? And you got to be fully worthy, fully in your worth, fully self-expressed, fully who you were. Just what would that do for your entire life? Not just your romantic relationship. That gets to be one place where that is, right? So I know that you are ready to stop wasting time haphazardly trying to find answers or piece together a bunch of different things that may not even go together to get answers. And I know that you are done just like with 10 million things that you're like, oh, over here and over here and over here. And you're like, I just want one, right? I just want all of it, right? And you're ready to find the right man and magnetize him to you. You've read the books, you've taken the courses, you've maybe worked with someone else, maybe even hired a matchmaker, and you're so close, but still not with the right man. So you know there is something missing. You know there is something more that still needs to click into place. And you're looking for your partner to build your life with, and not just a life, but really your empire with, right? Because you want your king to your queen, the man who will be there as part of why your big goals in life get fulfilled, right? If this is you, then I do invite you to book a call with me to see if we're fit for working together, assuming you already love what I have to say and you're already pretty sure that you want to work together. And then we can talk about what does that look like and all of the details. So this isn't about finding a man. It is, but it's not just about finding a man, right? So this is also, in addition, right, about who you become in the process. A woman who knows her worth, a woman who embodies her confidence, her self-love, her radiance, her courage, her authenticity, really, really, truly in every area of her life, then send me a DM and I'll give you a link to book a consult. So this is for you if you're really committed to finding this man within the next few months, because my work works very fast. Recently, a client met her man within 4 weeks of working with me. And now we just get to expand her power, her self-expression, her mission, which is so incredible, and just deepen that relationship. So this is the work that will change the quality of your life in all areas, not just in love. Your power to create what you want in life is directly influenced and impacted by what's going on in your romantic life. You know that if that's not working, it is stealing your power from other areas of your life. How much can you receive, right? This is about the worthy feminine. So I know that you're so ready to find the right man and have the tools to have it last past 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, which is often where these things start to unravel. So let's do this. Join me, send me a message, and we can get you set up. Okay, anything else? Oh, Tali, why can't you get excited anymore? You mean about a man? You said, I also want to feel like he's a provider and I get to stay my feminine. Yeah, absolutely. It is possible to create literally anything that you want. You can make anything you want. You can have any kind of relationship that you want. Whatever it is that speaks to you, that your heart and soul is saying, this is what I really want. This is me stepping into what I am meant to live like, into who I'm meant to be, into the life I'm meant to live. You get to create that relationship. You can create anything you want. So he can be your provider and you get to be in your feminine. That's what you want. That's what you get to have. Jesse, I have a hard time even imagining what it'd be like to have a partner who I can be my full self and live in my power with. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's the most amazing thing. And it takes work. It does not just happen, right? If that's not an experience that we've had, then there's something to look at. There's something there that's blocking it. But it's 100%, 100,000% possible. Okay. Any question? Oop. I just flipped my screen. Any questions before I sign off? All right. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your night and I will see you next time. Bye.